Hello everyone, let's have more news about the Warriors, but first don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave a like. Not all NBA success stories originate from the NBA draft. Just ask guys like Fred VanVleet, Austin Reeves, and now 2x NBA champion Alex Caruso. Immediately after the 2025 NBA draft, the Golden State Warriors and Mike Dunleavy Jr. began searching for additional talent, and the next undrafted gem, Chance McMillian, could be just that, with the Texas Tech product, a lethal shooter who could quickly become a fan favorite with his impressive shot making. After starting his career at Grand Canyon University, the Vallejo native finished his career at Texas Tech and was a pivotal piece in their Elite Eight run, earning himself all Big 12 second team honors in the process. McMillian fell just short of 50-40-90 this year, shooting 50.3% from the field, 43.3% from three, and 88.5% from the line. While the 6'13" guard averaged over 5 attempts per game from three, the most impressive thing about his shooting was just how difficult some of his shots truly were. There truly isn't a shot Chance won't take, and Warriors fans will even appreciate his look-away three that's become a staple of the greatest shooter of all time in Stephen Curry. The newest member seemed excited to join the Warriors, posting a fan favorite gif of Curry on social media in what's sure to increase his approval among fans. McMillian could now have the opportunity to train and develop alongside Curry, who has famously worked out with and helped a number of the best shooters across the league. Texas Tech basketball also posted a statement from McMillian reading, "It's a dream come true to suit up for the squad I've always looked up to. It's crazy to think I'm a part of Dub Nation now." Assuming he makes the Warriors Summer League team, he could be very fun to watch heading into training camp this fall. Now let's go to another video. Don't forget to leave a like. The goal
2025 NBA free agency is just 2 days away, and the Warriors expect to be major players. And we also have some major news to discuss surrounding Jonathan Kaminga and what Mike Dunleavy has had to say in his media availability. Before we get into all that, though, make sure you are subscribed to the channel because we are bringing you guys Warriors content like nobody else on YouTube this off season, and we are just 140 subs away from our next goal of 96,500 subscribers. If you're a diehard Warriors fan, you're going to love what we got going on here at the channel. Plus, we'll be live when free agency opens on Monday. So subscribe and turn your notifications on so you never miss a beat and you know when we go live. What's going on, Dub Nation? You're watching Warriors Today by Chat Sports. I am your host, Tyler Smith. We have a new Jonathan Kaminga update to get into. The Miami Heat rumors and the smoke around Kaminga and a sign and trade offer with the Miami Heat. Yeah, that smoke is rising a little bit. Shams Charania with this bombshell quote at the NBA draft following their selection of Kasparas Yakachonis at 20. One name to keep an eye on that I'm told the Miami Heat are expected to be a potential suitor for is Warriors restricted free agent Jonathan Kaminga. So Kaminga and a couple other targets potentially for the Heat, whether it's in free agency or trade here over the next week or two. Now, this quote from Shams is the first time that he is linked to the Miami Heat and Kaminga this offseason. We have heard from Brett Spiegel and like Michael Scotto and a couple other NBA insiders around the league outside of like the mainstream outlets say that the Miami Heat and Kaminga have mutual interest this offseason. And I think that it would be a good pairing for him basketball-wise to land in Miami if the two agree to a trade. And then, this isn't exactly a report coming from Zach Lowe, but it is kind of a cosign. And I do buy into what Zach Lowe has to say. He's one of the brightest and best NBA media members that we have out there right now. And he says, all bets are off with the Kings. Does anyone want DeMar DeRozan? The Miami Heat have been mentioned. I think the Heat would be smart to prioritize like a Jonathan Kaminga, like a younger guy ahead of DeRozan. I think the Heat and Kaminga smoke is real. So a little bit of a cosign there from Zach Lowe to what we heard from Shams around the draft. However, from the Golden State Warriors' point of view of things, I don't really love a straight-up Heat package if you're talking about just Kaminga going over to Miami in the deal, because remember, you can only take back 50% of whatever the first-year contract number that Jonathan Kaminga signs on his next offer sheet. So if it's $25 million, Dubs can only take back $12.5 million. So as far as guys who could fit under that umbrella for the Heat, it's not the most inspiring names. If you're a real Jonathan Kaminga fan, you really think that his trade value is much higher than the following players on screen: Kyle Anderson, Haywood Highsmith. Nikola Jovic is a player that the Heat withheld from Kevin Durant trade talks, so I don't anticipate that they'll make him available for Jonathan Kaminga. Also, Jaime Jaquez, who had a promising start to his NBA career, has kind of cooled off a little bit. I actually would be interested in him as a part of this deal, but more so would like it to be a part of a three-team deal, or potentially see Moses Moody get lumped into things as well. That way, the Warriors potentially somehow Could they bring back Andrew Wiggins into the fold? That would be awesome. Trading Wiggins away to go get Jimmy Butler, and then bringing him back in the Kaminga sign and trade that offseason. I'd be all in on making that move. He'd be an awesome, like, just off the ball player, somebody you could feel confident in, knocking down shots and playing solid on ball, switchable defense next season. But it seems like a little bit of a pipe dream for the Warriors to have get back in the Wiggins business at this point. As far as the Heat go, I think that they are a real legit suitor, and I think it's the most likely landing spot for Kaminga at this point. They are the favorite according to the online sports books and all that stuff. So we'll see what ends up happening if he does end up leaving Golden State. On the flip side, from some other teams that we've kind of heard around the scuttlebutt of the league, the Chicago Bulls. Is that interest even legit? I don't think we've actually heard much from anybody on the Bulls side of things that they're having major Jonathan Kaminga interest this summer. They do have some names across their lineup and their books that I'd be interested in as far as a return goes. Kobe White is a name to note, and I'd be through the moon if the Warriors could pull that off. They have been said that the Bulls are looking to move off of Lonzo Ball or Kobe White this offseason. So if the Warriors could swing that and get Kaminga to Chicago, that would be awesome. But they did just draft a raw athletic wing in Noah Essenge out of France, so maybe they're out of the Kaminga business at this point. I don't really want Nikola Vucevic either. Sam Amick of The Athletic did say this about the Sacramento Kings, who kind of entered the fold now. Said, the Kings will be monitoring Kaminga's market, but it also appears unlikely that Kaminga will ultimately come their way. So it kind of just seems like the Miami Heat are in the driver's seat at this point. I would love to get Andrew Wiggins back in the deal. Maybe you end up sending Moses Moody to a third team in some sort of 3-team deal, and you get Wiggins back and maybe even another piece, send away a first-round pick or something like that to make the Warriors just that 5-10% better to get out of the Western Conference next season, because I don't think they're going to do that with Kaminga at this point. And that's right. That brings me to this. Like, the best decision for both these guys is just to depart at this point. It's been 4 years. If you can't realize that, if you still have question marks on whether or not he's a fit on your roster 4 years into his career, can we just cut our losses a little bit and stop pretending that this is going to work long term? The best decision for both sides, and specifically Kaminga's side of things. He wants to be a multi-time All-Star. That's not going to happen with the Golden State Warriors, especially over the next 2 seasons or so. I don't anticipate him signing more than a 3-year deal with something like a player option for that 3rd year. So why waste your time in these last couple of years of Curry, Jimmy Butler, and Draymond Green's career trying to be the hero when you're never going to get that role in the lineup? So if the Warriors want to win and play like they did post Jimmy Butler trade on that 60-win pace, it would just be best if both sides came to a departure this offseason. Where does Jonathan Kaminga sign, though? They're all those signs point to now, the reports that have come out from the Warriors side of things, that it's more likely than not that Kaminga ends up extending back in Golden State for at least the start of next season. If that is true, give me a GSW. If you think that's happening, he's coming back to the Bay Area, give me a GSW. If not, if you think he's going elsewhere, if it's the Heat, type Heat. If it's anywhere else around the league, comment what team you think Kaminga starts 25-26 with. Now let's talk about the Warriors and their draft of 2025. 2 selections made in the 2nd round at picks 52 and 59, maybe they traded back up to 56. There were so many trades back last night. It was absolutely ridiculous. But Mike Dunleavy did speak on the fits of Alex Tui and Will Richard, 2 kind of swingmen, 2 through 4 guys, switchable players coming here to Golden State. And this is what he had to say about the Australian Tui. I think he's like a 4, and I think with our system and the way that we play, he's got the versatility to play multiple positions. It's who you can guard and where you can play offensively, and we think especially on the defensive end, he's super versatile and creates a lot of plays. That's kind of what I saw from him in the short film that I've seen so far. Like, gets at deflections, gets out in transition, pushes the pace, makes the right plays for the most part, but doesn't have any really glaring, outstanding trait. Kind of good at everything, not great at anything type of guy. I'm excited to see him in the Summer League, though, because he's coming over from Australia. He's a little bit older of a prospect to make the jump from the NBL to the NBA. So we'll see how he fares against some of the first-round talent and others who are around the NBA Summer League. I'm excited to see Alex Tui because I really don't have a full profile on him yet, and we haven't really seen a good player pro comp for him exactly. It's going to be exciting to see. These are what he had to say about Will Richard, though, who I know a little bit more about, a little bit more familiar with. He said, "We see him as a two-way player. Shoot it and defend it. He's a pretty good on-ball defender, very good on-ball defender, and he's got good length. 6'9" wingspan for a 6'4" player, hell yeah. And he's coming from a really good program and system where he was well-coached, well taught through years of college, and this is a guy who knows how to play." Now, Will Richard, he might, in my day, like, I think this is my long-term, like, best case scenario with Will Richard here is he makes Moses Moody expendable. Like, another 6'4", 6'5" player, a little bit of collegiate experience to his game, and he's got elite length already. Like, he can defend, hit the outside shot, and if he could do that with more consistency than Moses Moody, I think Will Richard has a legitimate chance to crack the Warriors rotation and be this year's Quentin Post for the Warriors on the bench, coming off as a small guard or wing. And, you can eventually get off of Moses Moody's contract, who's now making double digits in the millions, and you could maybe end up getting some pieces back that fit a little bit better, something in the front court or another more reliable outside shooter. So in this case, for Golden State, who plays sooner in the Dubs lineup in the rotation next season for 25-26? If you think it's Alex Tui, give me an AT. If you think it's Will Richard, give me a WR. I want to hear what Dub Nation has to say down in the comments section. More about the draft a little bit, and then kind of transitioning into the Warriors' trade outlooks and free agency this offseason. He said, "We add these draft picks into the roster however we do it, but I think we'll be looking at the shift of roster the most in free agency, more so than the draft." So Golden State didn't get really splashy when it comes to making big trades or moving into the first round or something like that. In 2025. They seem like they're prioritizing free agency right now. And how splashy exactly are they going to get? They have a couple of different opportunities at their disposal at this point. When you look at their exceptions on their books right now, they're not a taxpayer, so they got that $14.1 million taxpayer mid-level exception or non-taxpayer mid-level exception. And keep in mind, you do get hard capped at the first apron if you do use that. So I'm not sure if the Warriors want to get in that business. Maybe if they get off of Kaminga, they end up deciding to use it. I think they will end up doing so because they want to put the best roster they can around Steph, around Jimmy, around Draymond for these next couple of years. Got the biannual exception as well, $5.1 million, and then an $8.8 million trade exception. Keep a name on your mind, George Niang, who could fit into that as a nice shooter off of the bench, second-round draft picks, and the vet minimum as well. We'll talk about the Warriors' free agency and their trades that they can go down a little in just a second. But the 4th is coming up, and you guys get swagged out in this Warriors USA gear. Get yours today at this link right here, chatsports.com/Dubs4th. With our friends over at Fanatics, they'll hook you up with a fresh 4th of July tee for your Golden State Warriors. You can chop it up while you're chopping up some dogs on the grill. Chatsports.com/Dubs4th to get yours today. So Mike Dunleavy said this on Jonathan Kaminga's free agency here, as it is the big domino that needs to fall if the roster is actually going to shift. He said, "For both sides, we like to figure something out as soon as possible. That's the way it goes sometimes with restricted free agency. I'm not going to stress about it too much, but the main thing is making the right decisions, figuring the whole thing out, whether that is day 1 or day 10. I would not like that to be day 10. I might be on a little bit of a vacation 10 days after free agency starts. But regardless, I think Mike Dunleavy knows deep down that Jonathan Kaminga doesn't fit, and he probably is more leaning towards the side of finding a trade partner for him this offseason. And whether that's the Heat or whether that's somebody else, hopefully somebody's got a big investment into Kaminga forthcoming this summer, and the Warriors can get some value back and maybe potentially a better fit, even if it's not a better overall basketball player than Kaminga. And at the end of the day, is Mike Dunleavy is going to make the basketball decisions for this team, but how much is Joe Lacob going to influence Jonathan Kaminga and his potential return to Golden State? He said previously, publicly, that it's going to take a lot for him not to match. He said it's going to take a lot for me not to match, and then a lot for us not to match. He kind of corrected himself there. We know Lacob is a massive, massive, massive Jonathan Kaminga fan. So is he going to step in and match anything that Kaminga gets offered this offseason? Because I can't expect it getting higher than anything that is like $27 million a year or more. So it sounds like Dunleavy is leaving it up to Kaminga himself on whether or not he wants to come back, but hopefully Joe Lacob does not step in and just automatically match whatever JK gets. Dunleavy with more here. He said, "I think from his end, ultimately, he's the one that has to sign the contract. If it happens with us, it's reflective of his desire to be here." At this point, man, I'm really 50-50 on what's going to go down with JK. Like, for the longest time during the season, like after the trade deadline and all this stuff, like I kind of just figured he'd be on his way out this offseason. The next thing you know, he has a couple of standout performances after getting the DNPs, in the early postseason, and then played very well in the Minnesota series when Steph went down. So people have kind of expecting that he potentially comes back, as it's also difficult to find a trade partner for him, and you're not going to get equal value back considering the money you're sending out. So I'm 50-50 on what happens at this point. I do just think that it would make sense for both sides to start fresh, to start next season before there's any chaos in October, November, December. We get closer to the trade deadline and there's more roster uncertainty. We'll see you guys on the next one. As always, subscribe to the channel and let's go Dubs.
Folks, we have breaking news regarding Jonathan Kaminga. It's the least surprising breaking news you'll ever hear. The Warriors qualified Jonathan Kaminga for $7.8 million. Woo! Exactly what we expected, knew would happen. If he signs that, which he's not, don't worry. It is a steal. So this starts the free agency period. Draft is done. We broke that down. Now it's the Kaminga show, figuring out what happens and how the rest of the dominoes will fall. We're going to break down the situation, the timeline of the next steps for Kaminga, and then also some other free agency news from Mike Dunleavy Jr. Please like and subscribe to Warriors Digest. We give you all the breaking news here. You guys don't want to miss it. You see my hair is messy. I'm out here stressing about what's going to happen, and I want to give you great content. So please subscribe so you guys don't miss anything. Let's get into it. So as I said, Warriors made the expected move on Saturday. They had until Sunday to do it. Extended Kaminga for $7.9 million. Let me show this really quickly. If you go right here, folks. Again, let me blow it up for you. Final year of his deal, restricted deal, $7.6 million. We have his bird rights. They extend him $7.9 million. That's what he's getting. He becomes officially a restricted free agent. Monday's negotiating period starts at 3 p.m. Pacific. Athletic and Sporadic first reported the news. So now the question is, once he declines it, what's next? How much will he get on the open market? At 15 points a game, 4 rebounds, 45% shooting from the field, 30% from 3. I was hoping to be 40 this year. He was 30. Was not good. The team with the most salary cap space, Brooklyn Nets. Simon trade is something we've broken down a lot. Again, he was hampered by an ankle injury. Butler coming, lost rotation time, did not play, coach's decision, end the season, beginning of playoffs, and then when Curry went out, really did a nice job against the Rockets. Kaminga believes he can be a great player. Drafted 14th in the draft, won a championship with the Warriors. So did Moody. Both taking that draft. Now the question is, what will Kaminga do with his future? Well, there's also questions about free agency in general. Again, the Kaminga domino is the biggest domino to fall. What guys are going to be here and how do we complement them? Steve Kerr said again and again, he didn't like the fit of Butler, Green, and Kaminga together. But with another year under his belt, he would test it a lot to see if it would work better. Is Kaminga willing to take a 2-year deal with the Warriors to get a 3rd-year player option and see how that works and line up with Butler, Green, and Curry on their contracts? Dunleavy says we need a specific skill set for both balls. Duh. You needed to thread the needle. Duh. He's just window dressing here. What players are available? Offensively, make shots. Duh. We talked about this again and again. Pick and roll, catch and shoot, dribble, be able to pass, handling the ball. Without Steph Curry, BP a little bit. Other than that, not a lot going on. Reading the game. Guys who are great shooters. On the other end, defensively can't do anything. It's a problem. I can't bring a guy who's a great shooter and not play defense. You have to be able to guard. Cool, Dunleavy. Make this team better. Not giving us a lot there at all. Why the Warriors didn't draft first-round picks? Again, this all plays into Kaminga, folks, and just what the team is doing. We're probably more protective of them than most teams. I mean, look at the draft picks the Knicks got for first round from Brooklyn for Bridges. OKC, all their first-round picks they've acquired. Things like that. We're probably more protective of them than most teams because not knowing after a few years what our roster is, the uncertainty of that, putting those picks out in the future makes us in a bad situation. Again, let's take a look right here. What is he talking about? 27-28, Curry, Butler, Green are off your books. So if you're trading your first round picks, which they have, which I can show you, 28, 29, 30, 31, then you're really screwed. You're not going to have any stars because who knows if they're going to want to play, retire, do you want to keep them? And then if you don't have the ability to draft young players and rebuild, you're going to be in purgatory for a decade. A decade. So that's why they're really trying to hold on and not trade those picks, because it's not worth it to trade those picks, because you're going to be seeing probably a rebuild starting in 27-28 or a retool. I don't think Butler, Green, and Curry are coming back in that slate. They're really going to go 2 years, and again, who knows what happens. But then, if you sign Kaminga for 2+3, again, tying this all together, that puts him 2 years tied up with Butler, Green, and Curry, and then he can decide if he wants to stay player option 27-28 or leave. Oops. We don't have many second-round picks, so those first-round picks are extremely valuable and viable for the Warriors. The good news is they always can dangle the carrot and have those picks. The question is it a smart idea to give them away? Because they're not playing in 2032, so what he's saying is, like, we need players around to be able to be successful for us when that comes around. We had this 2-year gap of, like, young and the old build. Obviously, that didn't really work. Now you're all in on Butler, Butler, Curry, and Draymond. You have your first-round picks. But when you put 59, 54, $25 million worth of salary, 80% of your salary is going to 3 players, you're at a deficit. That takes you again to the Kaminga trade. Is like, on the open market, they don't have a lot they can do. If they sign Kaminga, say $20 million, look at the first apron space. They have $24 million. He'll basically take up the rest of your first apron. They cannot pass the second apron. It limits significantly your roster construction. If you watch the NBA draft, they talked about this again and again on ESPN. You don't want to break the second apron. You're basically hindered in signing players in free agency, doing trades, things like that. So they have, you're going to pay penalties and tax, luxury tax, by going over the aprons, which they're willing to do because obviously they got Butler and they're paying all this money. However, $36 million to spend in free agency is basically their limit. That's not including re-signing GP2 if you want, re-signing Looney if you want. I'm not saying they should. I'm just telling you what they got to do, and then bringing back other players to fill out the roster. Kaminga gets $25 million. That basically gives you $11 million for the rest of the team. Is GP2 willing to take a discount from $9 million to less? Is Looney willing to take a discount from $9 million to less? Can you go get a big man in free agency? Can you get a 3-and-D player? I saw a lot of comments on YouTube about, make myself bigger. Oh my God, why did we not sign an undrafted rookie who's a center? How many 7-foot centers get undrafted? Not a lot. How many of them are quality? Maybe not a lot as well. You can get better value at guards, shooters, and develop them, which Warriors do have a good G League team. They do have a good G League team, but they don't play a lot on the NBA team. So that's where it's important to understand what the Warriors are trying to do. I think they're going to sign a big man in free agency, but it all comes down to, folks, Kaminga. The Kaminga domino fell. Domino 1 we knew would fall the way it did. He had to get the tender from the Warriors. No way you're not going to offer him $7.9 million. Now he's going to decline it. That will be his second option, become a restricted free agent. He can start fielding offers, and the Warriors have the right to match anybody. The question is, how long does this draw out? Are the Warriors going to be able to do this relatively quickly with him, or do they miss the opportunity to get other free agents because they're waiting on Kaminga? That is a question that is going to be very pertinent, and we're going to keep you updated on everything here in Warriors Digest. Subscribe, comment your thoughts, and we'll keep you in the loop.
Golden State Warriors only have so many years remaining as contenders in the Western Conference. With the Warriors dealing with an injury to Stephen Curry during the second round of the NBA playoffs last year, it's possible that they could still believe they're contenders and may look to make a blockbuster trade or signing during the offseason. When searching for options for the Warriors, Bleacher Report recently linked them to Indiana Pacers center Miles Turner, who will be a free agent. It's possible that Turner will return to the Pacers, but after a dreadful final series, there's no guarantee he will. Figuring out Turner's potential fit in Golden State is easy. The Warriors obviously feel a stretch 5 can help maximize their roster, and they'd presumably prefer one without as many defensive deficiencies as Quinton Post, he wrote. Turner would be all caps awesome on this team. Coach Steve Kerr might coax even more 3-point splashes out of the big fella. The challenge would be getting Turner to Golden State, as the Warriors don't have the flexibility to sign him outright. If he decides he wants to join the Dubs, though, maybe there's a sign and trade agreement to be worked out involving restricted free agent Jonathan Kuminga, Zach Buckley of BR wrote. While the Indiana Pacers have stated in the past that they want to keep Turner in Indiana, the Golden State Warriors will have to hope that his final showing will turn them off. According to head coach Rick Carlisle, the Pacers are still hopeful to re sign him, adding that it's their top priority. For the Warriors, that isn't ideal news. I don't think it's any secret that the franchise at this particular moment that is the number one priority, Carlisle said, per The Athletic. And you, fan, what do you think about Miles Turner's situation? Leave your opinion in the comments.